Hello, lovely CAWC ladies, and welcome to Quarantine Tuesday with me, your host, Dahlia Bifus. And today I'm very excited. We have life coach Alicia Mullery, who's going to tell us how to feel better, which is exactly what we need in this time, and especially after last night's announcement that we're going to be homeschooling and we're going to be locked down again for at least 6 weeks. But at least we know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you so much, Alicia. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here and chatting with you all today. Like we said, my name's Alicia Mullery. I'm a life coach, and I am going to talk to you all today about 3 steps that I have been using and sharing with just about everybody I know on how to feel better. You know, however you are feeling right now, we all kind of hit a neutral point where we kind of optimize around. And most of us want to feel a little bit better from wherever that part is that we've gotten used to. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through each of those steps, and I'm going to have each of you try these steps out on the Zoom as we go through it. And for those of you who are listening to the recording later, I want you to actually do the steps as we go through it as well. You guys can unmute and ask questions, but I'm going to use a lot of the chat feature. So if you want to have the chat option up. And I've got a flip chart here in the background. So if you haven't already, you can pin me on the main screen so that it's easy for you to see. And the way you do that is I think you just go hover over my video. There'll be a little 3-dot ellipsis that you can click on. And then there's a button that says pin, and that should pin me on the main screen. So, you know, you aren't squinting the whole time trying to see what's written on my board. So with that, I want to start first and talk a little bit about, if we want to talk about feeling better, we have to understand why a lot of us feel bad a lot of the time. And what I want to start with is life is 50-50. 50% positive emotions, great days, great excitement, great feelings. 50% negative emotions, negative feelings, negative experiences. Now, some of you might be thinking like, wait a minute, Alicia, I thought you were going to tell me how to feel better. Not that life is half bad half the time. But what I want to share first and what I want to argue is this is not why we feel bad. I want to argue why you actually want to feel negative emotion half of the time. 3 main reasons. 1, there are times where you do not want to feel happy, right? Like if you lose someone you love, if you see an injustice in the world happening, you don't want to feel happy and laughing and joy in those moments. You want to have access to those negative emotions. So that's one really important reason why we need 50-50. Another reason you want to feel negative emotion from time to time is we live in a world of polarity, right? Light and dark, hot and cold. We on planet Earth, as humans, we learn because of that polarity. I think about all the time in the UK where I used to live in Washington, D.C. before this, and there was a lot of long days and it would get really cold, but it would get really hot. Here in the UK, I have never appreciated the sun as much as I do here because I don't get it that much, because I have such of that polarity between the two. And so when we feel negative emotions, one of the reasons that we want that is so that we can experience the opposite of it. We can know it when we see it. And the third reason you want life to be 50-50 is I want you to think about any accomplishment that you have had in your life that you're proud of. If that's having children or running a marathon or getting a promotion, whatever it is, you might feel positive at the end of that experience. But I guarantee you felt some negative discomfort along the way to getting that accomplishment, right? The early mornings to do the run, the, certain moments with your children when they're starting to drive you crazy. Like you have to feel discomfort and negative emotion to accomplish things. Like when we're just feeling happy all the time, I don't know about you, but then I'm sitting on the couch watching Netflix feeling content and I'm not really achieving anything in the world. So the reason I bring this up is life is 50-50. I'm not going to, on this call today, try and make all of your life 100% positive because it's not real. But what ends up happening is you and me and everybody I know, we are socialized by movies and TV and family and all the limiting beliefs we have that we should feel positive all the time, right? Think of any advertisement you've ever seen. It's like, oh, you're not smiling like these people in the car? Go buy the car. You're not on vacation. You don't have the handbag. You don't have the shoes. Go buy those things and you'll be happy all of the time. And so what happens for a lot of us is the moment we feel any negative emotion, we think something has gone terribly wrong. We go, oh my gosh, why am I feeling negative? No, I should be feeling good all of the time. And here's why a lot of us feel bad, because what we do is we buffer. As soon as we start to feel a negative emotion, what we end up doing is avoiding that negative emotion, pushing it away, and buffering, which looks like something overeating. Let me go eat the brownie instead of feeling the emotion, the negative emotion. Let me overdrink. Let me have that extra glass of wine. Let me overwork. Let me just go through my emails. I'd rather do that than feel the discomfort of, my spouse annoying me. This is a tricky one, and I do this all the time. Let me be overproductive, right? I often find, I don't know if you find this, when I have a goal, I need to accomplish something, I've got to get something done for work, suddenly I have this big urge to go clean the whole house, like get everything out of the freezer, defrost it. I'm like, no, this is very important. I must go do it. But really what I'm doing is, my brain is very tricky. It's buffering. It's avoiding a negative emotion by filling it with things that it thinks it can trick me into doing. And it does it all the time. The problem with buffering is there is always a negative consequence from it. If I overeat, I'm going to gain weight. If I overdrink, I'm going to get a hangover. If I overwork, I'm going to miss time with my family. If I'm overproductive in other ways, avoiding what I really need to do, I'm not going to accomplish my goals. So buffering feels good in the moment. It feels better than that negative emotion, but then it has a bit of a hangover. It has a consequence. And then what I love is what most of us do is we don't even stop there. We buffer, and then we add a nice layer of judging ourselves on top of it, which goes something like this. Oh, I can't believe I ate that cookie. What is wrong with me? I never stick to my word. I don't trust myself. Oh, I'm terrible. How am I ever going to change? So what do we do then? We probably eat another cookie to feel better. And we get stuck in this cycle of buffering and judging ourselves and buffering and judging ourselves. And that's what feels bad all the time. That's why a lot of us are just feeling like, how do I get out of this cycle? Like, what is going on? I feel completely out of control. I don't want to be doing these things. Why do I keep doing them when I know logically they're not good for me? Does it sound familiar to anybody? Any show of hands? See lots of hands going up. Yeah, this is like the human experience. And the reason for this is because most of us don't know how to feel this negative emotion. We just buffer right away, buffer and judge, buffer and judge. So if we want to feel better, we need to stop buffering and judging ourselves, and we need to get comfortable with this 50-50. And this is what my 3 steps are going to help you to do. So let me start with step number 1. Step number 1, feel your now. One-word emotion and describe it. So let me explain this to you, and then I'm going to have you all do it in the chat box with me. Or if you're watching this on recording later, do it at home with a piece of paper. So the first thing to do to feel better is to actually know what you are experiencing right now. What is the emotion you are feeling that doesn't feel good? When I ask people, how do you feel? Normally people will give me a whole paragraph. I feel frustrated. I feel angry. I feel like this should happen. I feel like the law should have changed. I feel like children should be able to do that. Like, right? We get a whole paragraph where what we need to get to is just what's one word emotion that we are actually feeling. I know this sounds really simple, right? We should have learned this when we were like 3 or 4, but I'll tell you, so many people that I work with, really their emotional vocabulary has become very stunted, myself as well. We have this high level. I feel good, I feel bad, I feel stressed, I feel happy. And we don't know a lot of other feelings between that. And if you don't know how you're feeling right now specifically, you're never going to be able to feel better because you've got to know exactly what it is. And the other piece with this is being able to describe it. So when it comes to how do you find out what you're feeling, this is what I do. Highly technical process. I close my eyes and I just start trying on words to see if they fit. Do I feel stressed? No, that doesn't feel right. Do I feel overwhelmed? No, that doesn't feel right. Do I feel angry? No. Do I feel grief? Yes, maybe that's the feeling I'm feeling. That just kind of feels right. I just try things on. For any of you who start to struggle with thinking about this, I often go just into Google and I either look at wordhippo.com, which is a thesaurus, and I just type in a word that's kind of close to it, and it gives me a whole bunch of other words that help me pick through what I'm really feeling. I also sometimes Google, it's called a feelings wheel, and it's just a wheel with different types of emotions and feelings. And I use that just to help me brainstorm what is my actual feeling. Let's pause here. I'm going to be quiet for a whole minute. I'm going to let you close your eyes and try on a bunch of feelings. And I want you to figure out what is your one word emotion that you're feeling now and type it in the chat. Does it have to be negative? No. If you are feeling really positive, you can share that as well. It's always good to know. Frustrated, unsettled, boredom. Yeah. Peaceful, but just came out of a yoga class. Daniela, that's good to know, right? Like when we're feeling good, what's some of the root cause of that? Hopeful. Excellent. So the first step is finding your feeling. And then the next step is to be able to describe it. Because what I want you to think about is like, why do we buffer? We're afraid of feeling an emotion. What does that even mean? Like if an alien came down to planet Earth and didn't ever experience an emotion and you had to describe to them what an emotion was, what would you say to the alien? You'd start to describe physical sensations, right? Because it's a physical sensation in your body. And for a lot of us, you know, let's take one for example, let's take stressed, right? What I do when I try and understand it in my body is I literally close my eyes and start scanning. Do I feel anything in my face? Yeah, my face is feeling hot. My throat, yeah, it's feeling a little tight. My heart, oh, it's racing really fast. My stomach, it's swirling. I go through and I describe what that feels like. And I often imagine if I was describing this to an alien and the alien's like, okay, you're really doing some bad things in your life because you're feeling stressed. Tell me what stress feels like. It must be really awful. And I'd go, yeah, like my face gets really hot. And the alien's like it's melting off. It must be very terrible. And I'm like, no, I mean, it's just like a little warm. It's not even like I've worked out, but it's awful. It's I don't ever want to feel it. It's a terrible feeling, right? It's almost laughable that what we are trying to avoid is a physical sensation in our body. But again, most of us cannot describe what is that physical sensation beyond the high level descriptions. You know, I get hot, my butterflies in my stomach, my throat is tight, very high level. The part of being able to feel your now is naming that emotion and being able to go in your body and understand it so well that you could draw a picture of it. So I'm going to have you do this in a moment, but let me share an example with you of ones that I feel. So, for example, one that I often feel when I feel overwhelmed is it feels like there is a balloon in my chest that just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding. And I feel like, oh my God, I can't take anymore. It's going to explode. Or shame, what this one feels like to me is it feels like a fishing hook is right under my rib cage. And it's just like pulling me forward every few seconds, like pulling me forward, this feeling of. Or another one, when I've really sat with it this year, is grief. And grief for me feels like When the water goes out, it feels like this emptiness in my stomach. And then I feel a crash, like a wave on my chest, and then nothing, and then a crash. And so I've gotten to the point where now I start to say, can I really, really describe what I am feeling? And when I can describe it, then what I end up doing is I start sitting with it, right? That this is what processing an emotion means. I've heard that term all the time, but I didn't know what it really meant really for a long time, which is processing an emotion is sitting there saying, okay, this is shame or this is grief and feeling the wave and taking a breath. This is grief, feeling the wave, taking a breath. Or this is anxiety, feeling the balloon and taking a breath. Feeling that over and over, saying it, breathing it. And I'll tell you, maybe you say it 20 times and then you don't feel it anymore. Maybe it comes back an hour later and you do it again and then the feeling processes and leaves. So, and this is also true for good feelings as well, for positive emotions. There's a particular sensation we feel in our body. So for the word that you shared earlier, I want you to close your eyes, take your time, take a full minute, and try to describe what is the feeling, the sensation in your body when you feel that emotion, and see if you can type it into the chat. So I think frustrated feels like I'm being held back. Peaceful for me is an empty space, almost like in a bubble and the world is outside it. A weight on my chest. And Jenny, I think your emotion, I think you had said was sadness. So sadness feels like this weight on your chest. Hopeful feels like butterflies, similar to anxiety. I think that's such an interesting point, Dahlia. One of the things I noticed when I started doing these, actually feeling my feelings, was they felt the same. Like when I was excited or anxious, it was the exact same sensation in my body. And it made me stop and think like, okay, well, what's different? Butterflies in my stomach can feel good and feel bad. Like how can I make it feel good all of the time? That became really important to me. A couple more feelings here: edgy but numb at the same time, like I'm floating but not smoothly. Boredom is emptiness, not much feeling, low drive, even to do easy things. Yeah. And so, this first step, if this is all that you do, identify your emotion and be able to sit with it and describe it. This is boredom, this is frustration, this is sadness. Breathe through it and feel it. Already, that's going to give you a little bit of space. That's already going to give you some space to breathe and realize this is what's happening, right? Like, this is the emotion I'm feeling. Step 2, once you've done that, is find the sentence that is causing that feeling. Now, this is based on a truth that I will start with, which is feelings do not come from circumstances. They are not a circumstance, which the whole world is like in cahoots against us, telling us that things make us feel a certain way, right? Like we're always told, take a vacation and you'll feel better. Get a great husband and you'll feel better. Have kids and you'll feel good. Buy the handbag, buy the shoes, eat the cake, and you'll feel better, right? We're always told those things will make us feel better. But have you noticed it's not true? Right? Like you can do those things for a little bit and they'll feel a little better. And then there's always something more that we need. Another way that feelings do not create or not created by our circumstance is, if that were true, If external things created our emotions, we would all feel the same way, right? Because the external thing would create a feeling. Everybody is experiencing coronavirus right now. Everybody's having lots of different feelings about it, right? Everybody in the UK, at least, is experiencing tier 5 lockdown. Everybody has different feelings about it, right? Sometimes they're subtle differences, sometimes they're big differences. And the reason for that is because external circumstances don't create a feeling. It's always our thoughts, what we make that circumstance mean, that sentence in our brain that creates the feeling, which goes back to the point that someone said earlier, which is I'm feeling butterflies in my stomach and sometimes that feels good and sometimes that feels bad. How can that be? It's because we have different thoughts about that particular feeling. And this is probably one of the hardest things. I'm still learning how to do this. And it sounds very simple, but the way we get to the sentence is we have to separate out facts from thoughts. So a fact is something that is neutral. It's not good or bad, just like 2 + 2 is 4. Fact, neutral. We don't have any emotion about that. A fact is something everybody in the world would agree on that you could argue in a court of law, right? It's, I don't know what the temperature is outside, but let's say it's 4 degrees today, right? Fact. We all can agree on that. We don't have any particular feelings about that. That's neutral. A thought is what we make that mean. Oh, it's so cold today. Oh, it's a great day. Oh, I wish it was warmer, right? What do we make the 4 degrees mean? $1 million, right? That's a fact. We could say $1 million in a bank account. Neutral. Some people will have a thought, I'm rich. Some people will have a thought, I don't have enough. Same fact, $1 million. We all have different thoughts about that. So we all feel very differently about those circumstances. So how do we start to feel better? Well, we've got to find the root cause of like, what sentence, optional sentence, have we chosen to think in our head that isn't feeling very good? And what's tough here is that it's easy to see other people and say, oh no, that's just their story. That, they're choosing to think that way. But for ourselves, we believe our stories. It's really hard to make that differentiation. So first, let me do a little quiz for everybody. So I'm going to say a statement, and you can type into the chat, is it a fact or is it a thought? Okay. So first statement, I am so busy. Fact or thought? One vote in for thought, thought, thought. Yeah, thought. But I want you to think for a moment the last time you had the thought, I am so busy. Maybe it was this morning. Did it feel like an optional choice? Or did it just feel like a fact? Like, no, Alicia, I am busy today. This is the truth, right? We often believe our stories. A fact may be, I have 9 hours of meetings today, right? That could be a fact. Or I have to teach 3 children for 7 hours. That could be a fact. We could choose to think, I'm so busy. There's lots of other thoughts we could have, right? You could think I'm so in demand. I get so much time with my kids. I have so much time with clients, right? Lots of thoughts we could have. I'm so busy. You have to decide if that thought feels good for you. Does it create a good feeling, or does it create a negative emotion that you don't want to feel? And you may want to, maybe it creates anxiety for you. Most of us don't want to feel anxiety. Some of us, I'm so busy, may make them feel really motivated. And if that's your feeling and that thought works for you, like, keep thinking it. But what this step is about is stepping in and trying to understand, what is the feeling? What is this thought creating for me? So let me give you another thought or fact. I am, insert your age here. I am 20 years old. I am 30 years old. I'm 40 years old. Is that a thought or a fact? Fact, fact, fact. Yes, fact. It's a fact. But notice how most of us don't see that as a neutral fact. Most of us have a thought about that number. We all have different thoughts, right? But most of us think like, I'm old, or I should have done more, or I'm running out of time, or whatever we think. And it's funny because we'll see someone else at an age previous to us and think they're thinking the same thing we thought. And we're like, why? You shouldn't think that. That's a wrong thought. Don't think it now. So another completely neutral, but notice how we subconsciously add a thought to it that makes us feel a particular way. Okay, one more in the pop quiz, which is Henry said, I don't like vegan food. Thought or fact? Henry said, I don't like vegan food. Fact, fact, fact. Yes. And this is interesting because obviously that's Henry's thought. Henry made a statement is completely neutral. Henry made a statement, Henry doesn't like vegan food. But notice how quickly, a lot of times, we will make that mean something. We'll have a whole bunch of thoughts about it. Henry doesn't care about animals. Henry isn't supportive of my life choices, right? Like we start making this story when Henry's just said a neutral statement, we get to decide what we want to make that mean for us. So I want you to go back to the feeling you described in step 1. And I want you to find the one sentence in your brain that is causing that feeling. And then go ahead and type it into the chat. I'm waiting for an appointment type. Okay. And that was making you feel frustrated. Yeah. Waiting for an appointment type. Can't see my family. Lack of something that adds additional value to my life beyond family. I'm lacking. I know there are challenges, but I believe all works out for me. Yeah. I find it very helpful, and this can be challenging to like actually get to the thought because we have a lot of thoughts, right? I normally just try and pick one more here. Girls, any go back to uni again? I'm not sure I understood that one, but can't go back to uni again. Yeah. One of the tips that I use, because ultimately what this is doing for you, when you are finding that sentence that's causing an emotion, you're taking back your power. A lot of us have given all of our power away because we think everything else in the world has to change, right? We're like, I can't do anything about coronavirus. I can't do anything about the vaccine. I can't do anything about the lockdown. I have no power. I'm so upset. I can't do anything. And then, right, we start to spiral. That's where we overeat or over buffer. And that feels really bad. But the moment we start to realize, wait a minute, that external thing is not doing this. I know my whole life I've been told that, but it's not the external thing. It's whatever I'm choosing to think. That gives you a little bit more power. And so what this step allows you to do is really realize that you are in control of like emotional adulthood, right? Like you're in control of how you feel. And sometimes that may mean you want to feel bad. Like I said before, maybe that means your thought is, I don't want my kid to get hurt. And you're feeling angry. And maybe that's exactly what you want to feel and exactly what you want to think. But now you know that you are choosing that as opposed to some external circumstance making you feel this way. You are choosing to have that particular emotion. I think that's very, very powerful. Now, when it comes to understanding these sentences, one of the things that I do is, has anyone heard of the concept of a thought download before? No? So what a thought download is anytime that I realize I'm having a negative emotion, I'm feeling overwhelmed or stress, and I'm trying to find the sentence, I often can't just sit there and just guess the sentence. I take a piece of paper, or I take my laptop, or I take my phone in the notes section, and I just free write a whole bunch of things down that's like a brain dump. I can't believe she said this, and I hate this, and this isn't working, and I'm so angry, and this is how the world should work. And like I just let it all out. And then once it's out, then I can see and I pick whatever feels most important to me that I realize, oh, that's why I'm feeling upset. Because I'm thinking, the world shouldn't be this way. Or I'm thinking, John shouldn't have sent that email to me. That was rude. Or I'm thinking, my daughters can't go back to uni again, right? Like I realize that is a thought. That's the thing that's really making me upset. So if you struggle trying to find that sentence, one of the best tools that I use is a thought download. And it's funny, one of my girlfriends, she started doing them, and she was, I think it was rice cakes. She wanted to stop eating rice cakes, and she couldn't understand why she kept eating them. She was feeling an emotion. She tried to find the sentence, and she started thought downloading, and she couldn't even believe the thoughts that she was thinking. Her thought was, well, it's time for a break, which her mind made her think, oh, it's time for a break. So now I eat a rice cracker. And she didn't even know that thought was happening. And so she started, once she realized it, she just stopped thinking it. I don't need a break with a rice cracker. And one of the things that I think a lot of us have noticed is society, movies, books, TV shows, coworkers, family members, all of them have given us a lot of thoughts our whole life. They've offered many thoughts that they have and opinions about things. And those thoughts go into our mind. And for a lot of us, they're not even conscious. They're like a subconscious program running in the background that we aren't even aware of, right? So in the background, a thought that I have had in the background for a long time is, you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. Which is very stressful because you can never do enough, right? That there's always more to do. But until I started paying attention, that thought was just constantly in the background. I wasn't paying attention, and it was creating feelings for me, emotions that were like ruining day-to-day events. So this second step of finding that sentence causing your feeling, if you just do these two things, I guarantee you are going to feel better than having avoided it and buffered it and then judged yourself for it. And the third and final step is create a new thought. Now, I do not subscribe to the idea that we should be positive and happy and joyful all the time. So I don't mean just make up a new shiny thought that you don't believe, because that doesn't work. It has to feel true to you. You have to believe it, and it's got to feel a little bit better. So for example, let's say you have a thought, I hate my body. Now you notice it, you feel the emotion, you notice it, now you want a new thought. Most of us cannot jump to the thought, I love my body. Oh yeah, why am I thinking that? I love my body. Like, if you can, great, and do it. If you can't, most of us need an in-between step. Like, I have a body, right? It's true, I believe it. Feels better than I hate my body, so I have a body. And you practice thinking that every time, oh, I hate my body, we replace it. Like, we don't talk to ourselves that way. Let's say I have a body. And then eventually, maybe it's like a little bridge. You take little steps. Maybe you can say, I like my arms, or I like my hair. And then eventually we make our way to the ideal thought we want to get to, I love my body. But we usually can't make that jump immediately. And so we think about the same thing. Well, yeah, this is a great one. I'm grateful for my body and what it does for me. Yeah, remembering the things that we do like about it. When it comes to new thoughts about some of the, stressful things we are all experiencing right now. So for example, one that I have all the time is, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. Don't have enough time. It's constantly like my heart's racing. I can even, when I say it, it already makes my heart race right now. So what's a new thought? Because I cannot jump to, I have exactly the time I need. Like, I'm sure that's true in like the actual sense because we all have 24 hours a day, but my brain won't believe it. So new thoughts for me that feel a little bit better that I still believe would be something like, I don't have enough time, but I can get 4 things done today. Or I don't have enough time, but I know how to prioritize. Something that just feels a little bit better. Instead of saying, I can't get anything done, if I can just focus on, I can get 4 things done, that already is going to start to shift me. And slowly over time, as I keep practicing that, I start to get to a place where I'm believing a lot of new and better thoughts, which again, thoughts create our feelings. My feelings are going to feel a whole lot better. I'm going to feel better as I go about whatever I'm doing. So I want you to think of the thought you had earlier, and how can you think of a new thought that is still true to you that just feels a little bit better than what you were feeling before? Take your time, take a couple minutes, and drop it in the chat. They have 2 days to get back to me. Hopeful and excited for the year ahead. I feel frustrated, but things will get better at some point. Yeah. And, play with this a little bit. This is where it takes a little bit of creativity. My girls will go back to uni and make up for lost time. Yeah. Or we could have thoughts like, my girls will have an experience that almost no other generation will have that will add to their, resilience in the future, right? Like lots of different thoughts we could have. They're all healthy and I will see them and celebrate when I can. And again, my goal with this is not, you don't have to make it all rainbow and daisy and sunshine because life is 50-50. Like half of it's not going to feel great, but I want you to know when you are not feeling great, like choose, this is the exact emotion I want to feel, or I can feel slightly, if I want to feel slightly better, I can choose a different version of that. I don't have to jump from I hate my body to I love my body. I can just jump to neutral. I have a body. My girls will go back to school at one point, right? The appointment will get scheduled. Whatever it is, we can shift to that neutral space depending on how you want to feel. These 3 steps have changed my life. And I've done a number of these sessions for a lot of different people. And what has amazed me is how many people have told me, whoa, I need to teach my kid this. Like I should have learned this when I was 5 years old. Why do we not spend time on these things? I work with a lot of executives, and one of the things that I've noticed is the concept of feelings is like, oh, who cares about feelings? Like, be tough. We don't talk about feelings here. But have you noticed every single action or inaction you or I take or don't take is 100% fueled by a feeling? Why do you work so hard to get $1 million in the bank? So you can feel secure. Why do you take that vacation? So you can feel relaxed. Why do you eat the cookies? So you can feel, loved, right? Everything we do or don't do is because we want to feel a particular way. So what I found is that when we deny that feelings are important, we are actually going blind into all the actions we take in our life. And obviously every action you take creates the results you have in your life. So it's kind of looking around at your life. Do I like the results? What are my actions? Because how am I fueling all these actions? So just to recap these 3, first thing, what I do the moment, the good thing is our bodies give us a pretty good system when something is not right. You feel immediately, oh, I don't feel good, right? I feel stressed. Something's not right. I stop in those moments. I close my eyes. This takes 10 seconds. I figure out what's the emotion I'm feeling, what's the one word, and how do I feel it? And that's all I do, right? Step 1, I'm feeling shame, I'm feeling grief, feeling stress. Then, if I have time, I will grab a piece of paper and just jot down a thought download and find the sentence that is causing that. Taking power back, taking back control to say, like, why am I choosing to feel this way? What is it that I'm thinking that's making this feel really painful? And then I start to ask myself, like, is that thought something I want to keep thinking? Does it serve me, or is there something new that I particularly want to feel? And those three things take less than 5 minutes to do. They're very simple. Like I said, like your 5-year-old could do this. I had one mom I worked with where she had her 5-year-old sit down, and you know what? The 5-year-old was way better than most of us at being able to do this. And just because this is simple doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy. I would say the hardest part for this that I find for a lot of people is either one, letting ourselves sit with that emotion. Most of us, that hot face and the butterflies in our stomach, we can't handle it. We can't handle it. So we run away from it. This is the first piece. And the second piece that I work with a lot of my clients on is finding our thought versus the facts. Because most of us believe our stories so deeply, we just think everything we believe is a fact. I am busy. That's a fact. It's a great day. That's a fact. It's a terrible day. That's a fact. And we need someone from the outside to help us go, with love, no, that's just a story you made up in your head. Do you like it? Let's talk about new stories you can create. So these are my 3 actions for you for how to feel better. And if you guys, we'll talk a little bit about this now, but if you're interested in anything more about these, I've got more details on my website, or you could just drop me an email, aliciamullery.com. But let me pull up and open up for questions and see how everybody is feeling now.
I'm off mute now. I want to say thank you. That was really interesting. I mean, I think you've just made me for sure think about things in a different way. I do think that sometimes we just are what we believe is our truth, and it takes someone to make you think differently or challenge it to open up your mind a little bit. I mean, on your first question, I can't remember what your first question was, but I couldn't even answer whether it was fact or
I'm so busy.
yeah, because I'm like, I'm not really sure, because maybe you are busy, but actually it's your own truth, right? I don't know. It was interesting. The others came easily, but only because you'd gone through that with us and made us think about, well, is it really a truth? No, it's a perception of reality. It's funny, actually, my mum's older and she always talks about how busy she is, and she keeps herself busy. She loves being busy. And that's when I'm super, super busy, I get a bit stressed and feel quite overwhelmed. I just need that happy medium. But yeah, it was really interesting. Thank you. It made me think differently about my day, and it'll mean I think I might do what you've just done there with my daughter as well. Really, I think she'll really enjoy it.
Good. Yeah, it is true, because I'm so busy. Like, what does that mean? Which of us is busier, right? It's all, am I so
Competitive, right?
busy? But then there's someone who has 12 kids, maybe they're really busy. Like,
Yeah.
it's all how we choose to look at it. And it's all true, right? If we believe it, then it's our particular version of truth.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Yeah.
thank you. Really made me think.
Excellent. Great. Well, I see lots of comments. Some people are feeling calmer, and it was good tip. So I'm glad that this was helpful. Thank you so much for having me today. This was a very fun way to come out of the announcement yesterday and be able to talk about some ways we can start to feel better. So
fantastic. Thank you so much, Alicia. That was really, really amazing. I love the way you put perspective on things. And there is a fact, but you can choose the way you feel about the fact and the way you look at the fact. I like the story of having $1 million. Some people are like, oh my God, I've got $1 million. Other people are like, that's not enough. It's just the way you feel about the fact that makes you feel the way you feel, so your thoughts on it. So, and I love it because, and what I said earlier was that I feel hopeful. It's because of my belief that I know there's always challenges, but I believe that the challenge, getting over the challenges, is what makes you feel accomplished and happy once you get over those challenges, you know. And if there was no challenges in life, you would just not achieve anything, and life would be very bland. So it's those feeling the stress and the overwhelm and the challenges, and having those feelings is when it finishes and you get over that, is what amplifies your feelings of success and happiness and accomplishment and afterwards. So I really
contrast.
So like I have the butterflies in my tummy, and like I know the next 6 weeks I've got to homeschool my children, and we're in the process of buying a house, and so there's all these things that we've got to do. But I know that when we've done them, then it'll be a great excitement and a great accomplishment. So I have the butterflies in my tummy, but I choose to feel that emotion as excitement and hopefulness for what's coming in the future, rather than the overwhelm of the challenges that I have to overcome.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, because it is just a choice, even though it doesn't feel like a choice. And we can't always choose all the time. Like life is 50-50, but
yes, no, absolutely. And I'm a big one for self-care, and like if some days, if you don't feel like if you feel like feeling sick and spending the day watching Netflix and say, oh, I'm sick, I've got a headache, or, you know, I'm pretty healthy, but sometimes I choose to feel under the weather. You know, I don't actually feel under the weather, but I choose to lie under the covers and watch Netflix for the day. And then if anybody asks, I say, oh, I've got a headache, I'm not feeling well. But that's not actually the truth. The truth is I want to feel unwell, and I want to spend the day lying in bed and pretend to everybody that I'm feeling sick, you know. So no, absolutely, it's wonderful to be able to recognize that, feeling your emotion, feeling the emotion now, which is fantastic. Thank you so much. It's been so helpful to us. I'm so excited about this, and I think everybody on this call got so much value from it. I'm going to pop it up onto YouTube today, and let the rest of the CAWC members know about it, so they can also go into the new year with these new tools to help them have a more positive attitude towards like what's going on right now with lockdown and everything. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. It was great to meet you. And if I could ever do anything to help, let me know.
Thank you. We'll share your details as well, obviously, when we put the link on. Perfect. Lovely. Well, enjoy the rest of the day, everybody, and see you all.